Welcome to the Logan Power Show. My name is Calvin Logan. I'm your host. Thank you all for your support. You've been following us on Twitter, Facebook. Follow us every week live here at the Logan Power Show station on every Thursday morning from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. We want to thank you so much for coming on. I got with me some phenomenal guests from St. George, South Carolina. I have with me Mr. and Mrs. Riley. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. Now, like I said, to my left is Pastor Willerma Riley, and then to my far right is Mr. Floyd Riley. Now, this lovely couple, you look upon them and say, man, these people have been married right now maybe 50, 45 years. Nope. This lovely couple's been married for 2 years. Yes, folks, this couple's been married for 2 years. If they have a phenomenal story, I can know more about it. I know you'd like to know more about it. So first off, let's start with you, Miss Pastor Willerma. Tell me how you met your husband.
Well, he's better at telling that than I am, but I have been divorced for more than 20 years.
Gotcha.
And I've been praying for a husband because I always wanted to be married. Because I think marriage is preferred to being single. I just believe that that's God's design for man. Because he said it's not good that man should be alone. And I certainly believe that. Okay. And I received that in my spirit. It's not good, and I always wanted to be married. But my husband can tell it more in details because the Lord visited him. And one of the things I did do, when I prayed for a husband, I asked God to give my husband the vision for our relationship. Because I believe in my heart that man is the head of the woman.
Okay. All right. Like you said, go ahead.
And one of the things I wanted in a man was that he loved the Lord. That was really the only criteria I had because I knew that if he loved the Lord, that he wouldn't have a problem loving me no matter what I was or how I was.
Gotcha.
It would be easy.
I got you. That's very true. Very true. Like you said, Pastor Willerma Riley, she's telling us right now that Mr. Floyd Riley has all the information. So, Mr. Riley, tell me how you came about marrying this lovely lady here.
Well, I'm afraid it is a gift to me from the Lord.
Okay.
I had a wife for 50 years. I lost her in 2012. And I was grieving very hard over the fact that I lost my wife. And it got to the place where I couldn't take it any longer. So I sat down and talked with the Lord. Simply said, Lord, I know you called me to preach. I do not have a problem with that. My helpmate is gone home to be with you. I need a helpmate. What are you going to do about that? That's all. 2 days later, he woke me up 3 in the morning and showed me, well, I'm a preacher. And I simply said to the Lord, not her, she's a preacher. And he said to me, don't think of her as a preacher, but as your queen. Now, that blows my mind. So I didn't say anything else, but I got up early that Saturday morning and rode by her house all day long. I wanted to see the queen because the last time I saw her, I didn't consider her to be a queen.
Wow.
But I wanted, that Saturday morning, I wanted to see what the Lord was talking about. She was my queen. But I never was able to see her. I rode till it got dark. So Sunday morning, I went to her church, and she was not there. Her brother was the deacon. He was running service. So I asked him where was his sister, and he said she was home sick with a cold. So that same afternoon, she's the president of the ministerial allowance, same ministerial allowance that I go to. So I went out that afternoon to the ministerial allowance. And when I walked in that church, she walked up to me she met me and thanked me for coming to her church. And I just simply said to her that I wanted to talk to her, and that was it. So she called me on the phone and wanted to know what I wanted to talk about. So I told her what had happened. She didn't like it, and I didn't like it either. So she said that you have to realize this is strange to me. So I said, to me too. But anyway, I said to her, if the Lord can get in touch with me in 2 days, surely you ought to be able to hear from him in 2 weeks. I'll call you back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I called her back. I said, have you heard from the Lord yet? She said, no, I haven't heard anything. So I had to come to Somerville. So I said, well, I'm going to Somerville. Do you want to ride down with me? We'll have lunch at Ruby Tuesday. We can talk and see if we have anything in common other than the fact that we both love the Lord. And she agreed. So we came to Somerville. I took care of my little business in Somerville. And we went to Ruby Tuesday. And we ate and talked for 4 hours straight. I don't know why they didn't put us out. But anyway, we didn't agree on nothing. Nothing at all we could agree on. So I said to her, it's time for us to get up and get out of the restaurant. But when you get to your car, I'm going to hug you and I'm going to kiss you. And our relationship will begin from this moment on. And I did just that when I got outside to buy the car. And I drove down 17 to 26 and head west for St. George. When the Lord spoke to me, he said, put your arm around her shoulder. And I immediately did what he said. And when I did that, the next 2 minutes, she went to sleep and started snoring and slept all the way home to St. George. I had to wake her up to let her go in her house. Right? And I said, Lord, you're fixing her right now. Now, I didn't love her. She didn't love me. But the next day in my house at around noon, I was wide awake, walking around in the house there, and the Lord fixed my heart and turned my heart and caused me to fall head over heels in love with her. Okay. So we spent walking every morning. I go by and she would go walking and everything, all that. And then when she started coming by my house, and sometimes she stayed a little longer there, and she's supposed to stay, and I had to take her back home. And anyway, so I told her, being that she was a pastor, and I am a minister, if you're going to keep doing this, we might better go ahead and get married, because I don't want people to think hard of you, think bad of me either. So that's when we made the decision to get married, and we decided to get married, go out of town, get married, and don't tell nobody, because if the church knew, she was gone.
Okay.
So we went out of town and got married, but when we got back, I had to go to Columbia to my daughter's house to take care of some business. And when I got in the car, my daughter said, I had a dream about you and Sister Fraser. I said, what's that? She said, Sister Fraser was dressed in white. And I dreamed y'all got married. And all I could say to her was, you got that right. That's it.
Wow.
And while I was in Columbia, her sister-in-law was telling her about her dream. So that's how the church found out about it already. The Lord revealed it to them. And then, so therefore, the bishop came down immediately. Now, the bishop is her brother, oldest brother.
Okay.
Yes. Immediately installed a new pastor. And that was the end of her as far as church being a pastor.
Wow. Wow.
But we were doing fine ever since, so we did a lot of traveling around and always going someplace, stayed on the road for the next year or so.
But the big thing about it is we still don't have a lot in common, except that we both love the Lord and we love to travel.
Gotcha.
But when things go differently, then we remember that this is an assignment from God. It's not our assignment.
Definitely. That's a blessing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look at this right now. This has got to be one of the most loving, different type of stories you ever heard of. A gentleman married 50-plus years. For people who do not know about Pastor Riley, Mr. Floyd Riley, he's been in the military. He has 10 now, 10 children, whole bunch of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Been married 50-plus years. That's more than my lifetime. Trust me, I'm a young guy. So for me, he could be my great-grandfather, but he looks good, looks phenomenal. And his wife, she looks phenomenal. And look at this. He's married 50-plus years. And when you've been hurt in situation and you feel you can't bounce back, his faith, for instance, turned another corner. Another particular door opened for him that nobody could close. And because that transformation, because he said, I was going to obey the Lord instead of like saying, I ain't going to do it your way. Now, he could have been a grumpy old man and say, man, I've been married 50-plus years. You know, my wife, who I built a relationship, everything I've dealt with all these years, and now I got nobody to sit down with. But like I said, he made we call a prayer in the midnight hour. And you think also next to me, Miss Pastor Riley, how she was married for almost 20-plus years, had a fallout. And then you think about almost 20-plus years later, she finally finds love again. Now, sometimes you would see in society when you say, well, hey, I'm too old to get married again. It's never going to happen for me. That's it, it's over. But she found love. Now, the thing, they don't say they don't have stuff in common. They got two things in common. They love to travel, and they love the Lord. Now, those things are powerful because, as you know, traveling this big world, you got 7 continents. So, and like I said, loving the Lord is endless. So they got endless traveling to do because they got more to see, more to testify their testimony. So for those who like to know more about them, their information is on the screen. I highly recommend, if you're in the St. George area, you need to give them a hug. You need to tell them to you need to take them out to Ruby Tuesdays. You need to take them out to a restaurant to find out how in the world did you make that transition. That's some phenomenal type of faith without, for instance, having no type of, you think about, man, it could have been a real sad situation for both of them. But they turned the corner. It's not like they have an American sad story. It's a great story. But, hey, we got to have a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back here at the Logan Power Show. My name is Calvin Logan. I'm having a great time with the ministers, Mr. and Mrs. Riley. We are having a ball here. Their story right here is heartfelt. It's heart-touching. For me, you guys are really making me understand what this marriage thing is all about. For me, I've been married 9+ years. I'm still learning. It's a challenge at times. But you guys, like I said, you guys make it sound that you just took it and you just ran with it. Because you said your wife died in January 2012. You grieved for 21 days. Reminds me in the Bible, the Daniel 21-day fast. So you did a grieving period. You asked the Lord to help you, and then you took the initiative to say, okay, I'm going to be persistent to find out what is it you really want from me. Because you called him after he made the approach first.
Right.
Now, but he was persistent. He was looking for a wife to attain his favor. And the beauty part about it is you didn't, for instance, take it as no for an answer. And he had to tell you what was going on. And the thing about it is such a great storytelling to let people know that, love is here.
It is.
Now, you guys never thought about this, but has people ever been intrigued to tell the churches about your story and how you guys got together? Have you guys been talking around the St. George area? Ever thought about that?
Well, we've never done it that way, but when we approach people who come in contact with people who want to get married, I tell them all the time, you can't shuck and jive with God. If, a lot of women say, well, I don't need anybody else. I don't want anybody. But that's not always true. Sometimes they're doing that to cover up. Because I had a young lady once, as a matter of fact, that same Sunday that we had the Ministerial Alliance, she said that Jesus was enough for her. She didn't need a man. She was fine. I saw her, she was assistant pastor to one of my cousins, and she was in the hospital visiting her. And I told her I'd gotten married, and she told me, she said, you know what, I'd really like to be married myself, but I can't find anybody. I said, well, you can't shuck and jive with God. You have to be straight up with him. If you want to get married, you tell him you want to get married, and you tell him, what you want, and don't pretend like you don't, because when you pretend like you don't, then you're pushing that man, even if he's coming, you're pushing them farther away. But I told her, I said, you just have to be straight up with God. And would you believe, within a 6-month period to a year, that woman had a husband?
Wow.
And I always, when I meet people, and a lot of people say, well, I'm too old, and I don't want to be bothered anymore. And that's not true. We all want to be loved. I don't care if you are 65. You want to be loved. You want somebody to hold you sometimes at night, to help you go to sleep or whatever. It's just wonderful being married. I never told anybody I didn't want to be married. And one of the things I did before I got married, I started speaking into existence. I had a friend that I used to talk to from the District of Columbia, and I told him one day, I said, I'm getting married. He said, well, I haven't even asked you yet. I said, I don't even know who I'm getting married to. I said, but I just know I'm getting married. And I started, whenever I went out to eat, they would ask me how many. I would say 2. And whenever I went to church, if I sat in the pew, I left a seat for my husband to sit. And even in the pulpit, when I could, I left my husband's seat vacant.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long was that for? How long did you do that for?
I did that about, I did it off and on probably about 10 years. But when I got serious about it, that last 12 months, the next thing I knew, here comes Minister Riley.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but and one of the other things that happened too was when I prayed, I said to God, I want you to pick my husband this time.
Okay.
And I said, I'll be satisfied with whoever you pick. I said, I'm not going to complain about whoever you pick. Because, I had my own idea of what I wanted before I released the Lord to just do whatever he wanted to do. But I thank God for Minister Riley. He's a wonderful husband.
Sure.
And I was excited when God gave him to me. I rebelled at first. And then one of the reasons why I was excited was because he was married to his first wife 50 years. So I said, well, he's going to stick. He's not going anywhere. So I felt like that was a super trait, that he would stick around for 50 years to one woman. So, but it's a wonderful thing. And anybody who is interested in getting married, just don't pretend like you don't want anybody. Because everybody wants somebody, whether they tell it or not. You can fool me, but you can't fool yourself, and you can't fool God.
Gotcha.
So if you're straight up with God, let him know that you're tired of being alone. He'll work it out for you. And I had a dilemma of in our church they don't believe in marriage after divorce.
Okay.
So that caused me to have to be removed from the office of pastor.
Okay.
That was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And so in the midst of the happiness, I had a lot of agony as well. It was a combination of agony and ecstasy.
Gotcha.
But God has since healed my heart, and I'm able to go on. Because when you really think about it, in America, you can't have 2 living spouses. When we went to get married, one of the things we had to tell on the application was how many times we'd been married. And you also have to prove that you are no longer married before you can get married again. I had to present my divorce papers, and my husband had to show the death certificate for his wife. So I don't understand why that's still an issue, but I'm hoping that one day that they'll see the light, and that, because I think it causes a lot of other problems in the church. I think it opens the door for homosexuality. It opens the door for fornication and adultery, because there are people who have not chosen to get married, but they have a husband or a wife, and then they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend as well. So I think if that were removed, then I think it would cut down on some of that.
Gotcha.
Because there are instances of people who actually did get married, and you found out after they died that they had what our church calls two living spouses.
Okay.
But and then one time I always said, well, we could go by the law, but you can't go by the law now because they're doing same-sex marriage. So we can't take the law anymore, I don't think, because the law is going too far.
Gotcha.
On the other end.
Well, I say, you know, I really, one thing I want people to understand is, there's so many things that's spilling off my mind. She said something that's really good. If you listen to Pastor William O'Reilly right now, she said, get serious. Now, she said for 10 years, in the process, she left the open seat in 10 years. So think about it. Imagine her not here, and I say, okay, I want to be married, so I'm saying I'm going for 2. Table for 2. Now, you say table for 2, people, the host look like, okay, who's that coming? You know, you grabbing, like, you tell the waiter I want 2 waters. They're like, well, you must be extra thirsty. No, another person going to be sitting here, and the person doesn't show up. So she had to get her mind wrapped that I'm going to have somebody. She had to confess it. But the one thing I heard her say, she started to get serious in those 12 months. So when you get serious about something and you stop playing the games, those are some times where, I know reaction is a cause and effect, and your faith will react. So those are one thing I would say for those who say, I'm married right now and we're going through something. If you want your marriage to change, be serious about, I want to make it change. We're not going to play the game anymore. Or if you got divorced and you say, hey, I'll never get married again. No, let's change that confession around. I'm going to get married again. Claim it. And then also, she said another thing that was very important. I'm not going to dictate what I'm going to have. I'm going to claim I want the best, but I'm not going to say I need to have, let's go through society. I like to put myself out there on the chopping block. You can't say, well, I want 24, 36. I want her looking this way. I want her to have hair this. I want her to have 6-figure job, this, and this. You want to have all these things, but you don't got it. So how are you going to dictate to everybody else that you want something and you don't got your stuff in together? You had to get some good things. I want her to love me for who I am. I want her to love the Lord. I want to be a family person. And I think about to myself, and I know my wife has all those traits. And now it took a while now. Now, she tell you if she see me on the street, if you ever see her, she didn't like me at first. I was not the person she liked. Like I said, I didn't like her too, because she got me up. She wouldn't, when we was talking in college, she tried to play me in college when we met in biology class. So a lot of times, people say they had nothing. Yeah, we got nothing in common. You need like a big stack of paper. We got 50 things we in common with. All you need pretty much is 1 or 2 things that you in common with. You may like going, like they said, they like going out and they love the Lord. Okay, there's 2 things. Mm-hmm. So if you say you like sushi, I like shrimp, hey, 2 things we love. We love the Lord, we love traveling. So anytime we get back to it. And the thing about the church situation, you're very right. I think a lot of times the church can be better in regards to if somebody got divorced, let's heal the situation first. Let's not always talk about, well, you was married to such and such first time. Well, it may not have worked out for them. Maybe they don't have the formula, the chemistry to actually want to keep it together. But don't put them in a bind saying you can't go back out there again. I think a lot of times we don't want to play any games anymore. So I think that's another good thing. Let's not play the games. If you're at a church right now that's making headway, please let us know, the Logan Power Show. We'd love to get a shout out to your church. I know my church is making a lot of pathways. Truth and Fellowship Global Outreach Ministries on Ashley Phosphate Road. Dr. Jonathan Briggs and leading lady Sabrina Briggs, definitely a great church to go to. There's a lot of great churches around the world that's making kind of headway. So definitely, I definitely highly recommend you guys put the initiative. Before we leave, Mr. Riley, for yourself, I think you and your wife have a phenomenal story. I think that, no matter whatever happened for how the church setting, I think you guys are really in a ministerial mode now, because the way you guys talk, I think a young person and a person that's of your age can really relate and say, okay, this is making sense. They're really about something positive. Nothing crazy happened. But you both had walks of life, and you can honestly say that you right here is telling me, hey, I went after her. I made sure I covered this. I wasn't taking no for an answer. I grabbed her and gave her a hug and a kiss, and I knew she was going to be mine. That kind of stuff. And it wasn't, you was loving, you was passionate, and those type of things. They say, well, man, it's not all that serious. But, you took the initiative as a male, like in the military, like you are, like myself, the alpha male role, like, hey, I'm going to do it despite of embarrassment, despite of feeling like, you may get rejected. You said, I'm not going to get rejected on this one. So it must have been a powerful kiss, because I tell you, you sure did land a good one. So I think that that's a great thing. Definitely you guys are more than happy to come back on the show. For those, the information's on the screen. Hey, we would love to have them some more. If you have some questions, get on right now on our Facebook page and Logan Power Show at the Logan Power on Twitter. Please get in contact with us. Information's on the screen. We're having a blast here. We have a great couple here. And I'm letting you know, people, don't give up. Don't quit. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Logan Power Show. That is powerful. That's phenomenal. That is powerful. My name is Calvin Logan. Welcome to the Logan Power Show. That is powerful.